What is up, YouTube? I wasn't planning on doing a video today, but I got a delivery first thing this morning, so let's get to unboxing and see what we've got. Start putting some parts on the car. All these goodies came from Pro Speed Racing Australia. I do know what they are, but just for everyone else, start by unboxing this first one. First box we got, Perrin, and it looks like it's going to open this way. Lift that up. Box of hardware, Perrin Fender Shrouds for the 2022. Like everything else in this car, wrinkle red. So we'll be installing all of these parts today, and they'll all be engine bay parts. Much bigger box because this should have quite a few smaller parts in it. First up is a piece of hardware I was waiting on for exhaust. Just a little hardware piece. Should adapt the stock downpipe to the 3-inch exhaust. So I'll be using that when we get to the exhaust installation. Next we have another box of Perrin. I have basically bought all the Perrin goodies for this car. Ah, 2022 WRX pulley cover. Also in wrinkle red. Couple of smaller boxes now. Start with this one. Battery tie down. Replace this stock one. Again, wrinkle red. What do we got here? I'm not sure if I'm going to use this one just yet. It's the dipstick handle changeover. I'll see how the rest of the engine bay is looking, whether I use this or not. A few Perrin stickers, oil filler cap. So this should just be, yep. Also in red, got the O-ring there. So this is the oil filter cover for the FA and FB engines. This will just go over the oil filter and just hide it from view. And lastly, these newer engines do not have the AVCS in the traditional sense. So they have electronically controlled cam solenoids. These are a set of covers to fit over the front of the cams on the engine. Alrighty, so just a quick recap. Perrin oil filter cover, battery tie down, oil filler cap, Fender shrouds, alternator pulley cover, cam solenoids, and I'll also be installing the radiator shroud that I unboxed the other day, and installing the pitch stop mount that I pulled out of the 2013 WRX. Let's get to it. So I'm probably going to start with the three easiest ones, and that's going to be the oil filter, the oil intake, and the battery tie down. So to do the oil filter, This has got a pre-installed O-ring on it. Best to just give it a bit of a lube up, just so it frees up each time. Yeah, I think so anyway. Line up the logo and press down. Just need to wiggle it around to get it seated. And there we go, nicely seated in position. Just give it a little twist to line up the logo. Oil filler cap, it's just in behind it. Take out the old one. And screw in the new one. Now for the battery, I'll need a couple of 10 mils just to free up the existing one. Try and get that cap off. So with the battery attachment points, this rod goes through onto the harness down there, whilst there's a hole through the back here for this anchor to go into. Reading the instructions on the Fender Shroud, there are 3 pop clips in the front, which we take out, but only the center part of the clip and not the full clip. Get the trusty popper. That may not be the right angle. Get a different one in here. One clip. And Perrin says to remove the center part. I'll get to that in a second. 2 clips. These clips are in vastly recessed areas, so they may be a little difficult to get out. There's the 3rd clip. These go back into position with the Perrin supplied hardware going in and acting as the new clip. Next we get our two pieces of the radiator shroud, and using the supplied hardware join them together. So with the shroud fully assembled, it's held together with the supplied hardware, including 8mm nuts on the back and a couple of Allen key headed bolts. Slot it down into place and it should line up with all the 3 pegs we previously installed. And using the supplied washers and bolts, secure into place. And that is how to install the new radiator shroud. Everything's starting to look beautiful. Now the Fender shrouds are very similar. There's 3 pop clips to come out and then a couple of additional mounts. So I'll get to that. I won't explain this one too much as it's very, very similar to the front radiator. Apply our 3 little standoffs again. So I've got the Fender back to the plastic piece as well as the clips. We'll just install these standoff pieces. Make sure all our standoffs are in place and line it up. This one first, this one doesn't like the washers. Once we're in, and right. I do apologise for any aircraft noises during any of my videos. I live very close to a regional airport, so we do get light aircraft and helicopters flying over quite frequently. Let's finish tightening this one down. And there we go. First Fender shroud installed. I'm just going to quickly get the second one in. I won't show that, and then we'll move on to the alternator shroud. So both Fender shrouds are in now. Radiator shroud. We've got the oil filter cover, oil filler cap, and battery. Next, we'll be doing the alternator cover, which will go right here. On this one, there's a 10mm and a 10mm bolt here, and that looks like it should just pop straight out. Actually, it just pops straight out of the grommet on this side. Perrin's instructions say to remove the grommet after. Now Perrin's instructions are saying to remove and replug this particular harness here. This is to avoid any interference with their pulley cover. Just unclips and reroutes. I'll try and twist that a better way. And reroutes behind this little standoff up here and plug it back in. Now Perrin provide 2 standoffs. This shorter one will slot in over here where the grommet was, whilst the longer one will sit on the alternator. Perrin have also provided a layer of double-sided sticky tape which is supposed to go on top of this bracket we've just moved this harness from. So I'll just try and get that sorted. So I finally got that double-sided sticky tape sorted, and it goes, ooh, don't drop that. It goes just on top up here, I think. I think that's just to protect this bracket. Ooh. Now on this side, this should slot straight through and into the alternator. However, on this side, it needs to be carefully manipulated into place. This other side I had issues with on my previous one as well. Your best bet is to get the nut and the washer, a piece of tape, and a spanner. Line it up underneath, thread it through. And that's all hooked on. So I can break that free, and that won't go anywhere now. Now just using the supplied hardware again. Start screwing it down. Unfortunately, we've just had the firefighting choppers fly overhead, which is never a good sign, but during that time, we've finished most of the engine bay. We've got our Perrin fender covers, we've got our Perrin pulley cover, radiator shroud, battery tie down, oil cap, and oil filter cap. I will be doing the pitch stop mount as well. I did cover this previously in my first video, so I won't be going into detail. All we'll need to do is just unbolt the intercooler either side, get in behind, and remove the pitch stop mount back there and put the new one in. Remove the throttle body just here. So unfortunately I had a few issues. I've had to remove the plate around the top of the insertion point. Let's continue on. So without that plate in place, it took me about 30 seconds to get the pitch stop mount in that time. I'll just tighten down the bolts, get that plate reinstalled, and we'll have a look at the final result. So there we go. Pitch stop mount installed, cover back in place. Now time to get the intercooler back in. So it turns out I made a few mistakes when taking out the top mount. Well, I should have brought this piece with me outside of here, but instead I've had to remove that whole piece and reinstall it along with the worm gear onto the top mount. The other piece should have been leaving this bracket on the actual intercooler and just removing these two from the actual manifold itself. So I'll just continue on getting this intercooler back on. there we have it. Pitch mount stuff fully installed finally. That took a lot longer than I was planning on, but we got there in the end. Well, that's it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed that one, and hope you all learned something on how to do something on these 22 VBs. And I'll see you in the next video.